And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer.
Howdy folks, Darren back with you here at Cross Timbers Farm. Welcome to 8th Day Chronicles. On this absolutely blistering hot day, it is the 4th week of July here in the mountains of North Carolina. Today our temperature at home, I seen it one time 92. We got a very precise outdoor thermometer that even measures in tenths, like 90.4. And I seen it bounce 91.9 to 92. One time about an hour ago. It's still probably 90. Man, is it hot. You folks in Georgia, in the deep south, Louisiana, Arkansas, South Carolina, Florida, y'all probably laughing at me. You'll see I'm drenched in sweat. Y'all are probably laughing, going, what's the matter with that country boy? Can't he take that heat? No, I can't. I'll just be honest. I'm a mountain boy, and I'm not used to this kind of hot weather. We're used to, midsummer being in the 70s, and mid 80s is hot. I'm more acclimated to 70s, maybe stepping up to close to 80. Good grief, it's hot. We cut our test plot hay Monday, and we've had no rain, and high humidity's the bad thing. But we had no rain and temperatures in the 90s every day this week, and it's now Thursday, so we cut our hay Monday evening, and the hay's been drying. I did ted it Monday evening, late after we cut. So I cut it and tedded Monday evening, Tuesday tedded it. Yesterday tedded it and raked it with anticipating of possibly baling it yesterday. With these unseasonably hot temperatures we had, I thought this hay would dry down good. It's got a lot of legume in it, which I understand takes a little longer to dry down. Got out here yesterday, got it raked into windrows. Ran the baler and baled one bale, and waited 30 minutes or so, stuck the moisture meter into that bale and got readings of 30 and up. I think I got one reading of 35. It was like 34.8 or something like that. Way too high. You start baling hay at that moisture level, you're going to take a very high risk of developing mold and mildew in your hay. It's going to heat up and it's going to sweat. And we're talking mini round bales. They're not as bad as a big 5x5 bale. The bigger the bale is, the more danger they are to moisture in that bale, as far as a moisture of reaching a point of combustion. Now don't get me wrong, these can catch on fire too. Absolutely they can, but in a smaller package it's usually not quite as dangerous. So we baled one yesterday evening, got a reading of almost 35, no go. I was kind of surprised. As hot as it's been and as high sun as we've had, temperatures every day in the 90s, I was kind of surprised that it was still that moist. After last night, once we got after dark inside in our home and kind of got relaxed a little bit for the evening, I was really rolling this over in my mind, and it dawned on me that the humidity's been really high the last few days. I mean, really high. It's like sticky hot out here. That's not allowed our hay to dry down as good as it could have been. Sometimes I think If your temperature's only in the 70s or 80s and you've got real low humidity, it'll dry, but it'll actually dry better. Sometimes really high heat it is good, don't get me wrong, for dry down, but I think sometimes we forget to look at the humidity level. I did. I know it just went phew, right over my head yesterday. I wasn't even thinking about the humidity. I was thinking about, man, this stuff's had 2 full hot days. I'm actually going to be able to make 3-day hay. Well, actually, really about 2, because I cut it Monday evening and tedded it right before dark. So in the next morning, it would be already flipped over and spread out. But anyway, I was thinking, man, I'm going to be able to cut this on Monday, ted Tuesday, ted Wednesday morning, rake Wednesday midday, and bale Wednesday evening. Wishful thinking. That didn't happen. So today, we took that one bale and rolled it back out. Now bear in mind, this is our test plot. This is only 2/10 of an acre's worth of hay, very small. This is our school. We learn a lot here. However, when we do bale this hay, you talk about some A1 top shelf hay. I'd love to take this bale of hay right here and enter it into a contest somewhere. Inspecting our hay field before we cut Monday, and I'll show you a clip of that. It's just a short clip in an area about the size of a barrel lid, a 55-gallon barrel lid. In one little section, we had, just getting on my knees and looking in that one little section, we had orchard grass, very leafy orchard grass that was prime, just going into the boot stage good. Orchard grass, Timothy, tall fescue, red clover, and ladino clover. We had 5 top shelf, high quality forages in an area about the size of a barrel lid. This clump of hay right here, we have very leafy, nice orchard grass. And I'm talking about one little area here, about the size of a lid off of a 55-gallon barrel. It's not very big. We have very leafy orchard grass. We have tall fescue. It's just coming out of the boot stage. We have Timothy. We have luscious red clover. We have let me get in here, it's lower down. We have all sorts ladino clover. You talk about a high quality smorgasbord for horses, or even your cattle or your goats or your sheep, whatever. Something I haven't talked a whole lot about, but we're doing a mini series on test plot basics. And one of the things that I'll get into with that later on is diversity in your hay. If you go to a restaurant and go up to the salad bar, you don't want to get a carrot salad, or you don't want a radish salad or a broccoli salad. You want all those things mixed in. Man, when I go to a salad bar, mine looks like a mixture of everything. I get a little bit of everything there. Horses, cows, goats, sheep, your livestock are no different. Provide them with a diversity of hay and forages. And you talk about some animals that'll go crazy over your hay. We've been selling all of our hay here on our farm this year to horse owners. And we've had some come back and tell us, I want every bale of hay you can make. My horses absolutely love that stuff, and I love the mini round bales. Business is good. Okay, folks, I'm sure some of you see the little mini round bale here behind me. I've not weighed this bale yet, but we come out to our test plot. We've re-tedded our hay today because of that high moisture yesterday. We re-tedded and we re-raked, And it's about 5:30 p.m. now on Thursday, the 4th day, and we're baling. I come out and baled one roll and got my moisture meter, and we're good to go. I'll show you this moisture meter reading here in a minute, kind of how it works on an actual fresh bale of hay. Taking a quick look at this, my goodness, is this a good bale of hay. Super proud to put our farm name on this hay right here. One thing you may notice, let me lay my moisture meter down. A first for us. Goodness, that's a heavy bale of hay. Okay, you probably see it. First time ever we have used poly twine. And that's the very first bale that we've ever made on with our mini round baler with poly twine. Let me give some reasoning for that. Personally, I much prefer sisal twine. That's me. However, all of the hay on our property this year is being sold. All of our first cut's been gone, and we've got a waiting list for second cut when we do. When I'm feeding hay here on our farm, I prefer sisal twine. I like it because it's biodegradable. You don't have to worry about picking every little piece of it up and getting rid of it. The jute twine that we've been using, I had that roll of jute twine. You may have saw in some of our first cut, and I used some of it. The only reason I was really using that stuff was because I had it. I needed to use it up. On a small family farm, you don't waste product. If you bought something and it's usable, then you use it. That jute twine is too thin, too narrow, and with our tractor not having a live PTO, it sometimes creates a problem for twine wrap for it to pick up after you have to stop the PTO and restart it. Even if we had no problem with that, the jute twine, for me, is just too thin a diameter. I'm not sure what the knot strength is on that jute twine that came with the baler, but I don't like it. It's tiny. I've actually picked some bales up by the twine and had it break. And I'm using it up, and I've told the customers, some of our customers, that I'm using up this jute twine and just kind of be a little bit gentle with that twine on those bales until I use this up, and they understood. I've got some real good customers. However, when I was telling them that, and I'm getting to the poly twine, I told some folks that I asked them about we was talking about the jute twine, and I asked them how they like the jute twine, how they like the sisal twine, what did they think of poly twine. In my area, I don't know, your mileage may vary. In our area here in Western North Carolina, you can find poly twine almost anywhere. I have to go to certain farm stores to get sisal twine. However, I can do that. And if I was baling for my animals, that's what I would use, is sisal twine. That's my opinion right now. I asked all my horse customers, what do you think of the twine? And overwhelmingly, I was told I really don't care. I found out that my customers really didn't care whether it was sisal twine or poly twine. They didn't mind the poly twine. They said, oh yeah, I keep a trash can at the barn, and whenever I cut a bale loose, I just throw it right in the trash. I don't mind the poly twine. Okay, most people, when they're handling one of these bales too, I handle them, and I try to teach people to grab them by the ends, just like this. However, it's just human nature. People want to grab these things by the twine, pick them up. And like I said, I had some of that real thin diameter jute twine break. The sisal twine I've not had break. The poly twine is tough. This poly twine here is actually a 9000 T130. I like it. So far, I just used one bale and it done exceptionally well. It wrapped really tight, it's staying tight, and it appears to be pretty strong. But back to the situation, when you're on a small family farm, your farm budget, and I talk about that a lot. If you're farming you work a normal job and then you farm too, you're working 2 jobs. If you farm full time, man, you're on a tight budget. I mean, your budget's like a tight rope. You gotta be conscious of every penny you spend. Every penny you spend making hay, that keeps going up, your profit goes down. In my area, we can buy this T130 9000 poly twine for about half the price of sisal twine. Personally, you'll have to excuse the gnats are terrible. Personally, I like the sisal twine better. My hay customers really don't care. I found that out pretty quick. They was like, I don't care what it's baled with. Okay. If this stuff works good and it's strong and it holds a good bale together, people likes to pick it up by the twine, which I encourage them to grab it by the ends, but you still have people just want to pick it up by the twine. If it's good and strong and it's keeping the bales together good and it's half the price of sisal twine, I would be kind of stupid not to do that. Half the price, almost. It's a little more than half, but you could basically consider it half price of what sisal twine is in my area. So I would be kind of crazy not to start baling with poly twine. And the last time I was at the farm store, I seen it sitting there. I needed some more for a second cutting. We didn't need it just now, but they had plenty of it sitting there. They had the sisal twine. They had this T130 poly twine sitting right side by side. The poly twine was almost half the price, so I bought 2 rolls to try. To give it a try, I said, I'm gonna try it. See how our baler likes it. One bale done. Well, I done a bale yesterday too, but one bale done so far, no complaints. We have our moisture probe here, have our bale hay. Okay, there's no on and off button on this thing. After so long, it just cuts off. So you have to just push any button to start it back and it'll start up saying something like that, D 1.5, I don't know what that means. And then it will revert back to the lowest reading it'll go is 14.5. That's one thing about this thing I don't like. Agritronics, if anybody there is watching or listening, come out with a software update, send something out where we could take these screws off the back and add in a little chip or something to make these things read all the way down to 0 or 0.1. Only going down to 14.5 is kind of ridiculous, in my opinion. All right, but it does work good above that reading. You have your probe. Just stick our probe in all the way down and you can immediately see the reading. I hope you can see that. Let me try to zoom in. Can you see that? 17. Okay. Don't just take one reading on your bale. Go around in different spots. 16.1. Baling your hay at the proper moisture content is paramount. I've seen people baling hay that was just probably the moisture level in it was 2 or 3 or 5. I mean, it was dry as dust. You could open up a bale of that hay and I mean, it was just like the Sahara Desert. And I noticed, I've bought some hay like that and our animals didn't like it. It was just crunchy. It was like Captain Crunch cereal before you put the milk on. It was just, you could tell them that it was so dry that the nutritional value of that hay was pretty low too. somebody let that stuff sit out and way over dry, is that a word? Let the moisture content of that hay just, and the nutritional value just evaporate right out of it. It was gone. Had very little color and all that stuff. You can see this bale of hay, look how green it still looks. It's not that vibrant green like the grass right here, but you know what I mean. And you can bale it too hot. When I say too hot, I mean the temperature, the moisture level, too hot or too high. Okay folks, we are done with the test plot for the second cutting. Our yield was way down and from the first cutting, and the reason I'm pretty sure is when we done our first cutting up to that point, we had rainfall here by the gobs, and we fertilized. For the second cutting on the test plot, we wanted to go to the second cut on the test plot with no fertilized commercial fertilizer to see the difference, and combine the no fertilizer for the second cutting with the I wouldn't say lack of rainfall. We've had some rainfall, but through July it's been dry here. Very hot, very humid and dry, hardly no rain, and that will just suck the moisture right out of the ground. Contributing factors to our yield being way down this time around. But however, the good thing about it is the quality of that hay, the growth stage it was in, and the diversity forages in the test plot was absolutely phenomenal. That is top shelf hay. We're going to try to get a hay analysis done on one of those bales. We'll just randomly pick one of them and through our cooperative extension office and take some samples out of that bale and send them off to the lab and get the results back. The polytwine, done good. No problem with that little baler. It run the poly twine just fine. The only thing that I did notice at the very end, we didn't have enough hay left to make a full bale. It was only a partial, it was maybe half, 2/3 of a bale. And I really had kind of a difficult time getting that twine to grab and start wrapping on that loose of a bale in there. There was just not enough tension to grab it, those rollers to grab it to make it roll. The sisal twine, I never really had quite that bad of a problem with doing that on a partial bale at the end, wrapping up a partial bale with a sisal twine. The poly twine didn't want to grab in there on a loose bale like that, but that's one bale. So it ain't that big of a deal, but the cost savings of that poly twine is pretty significant, you know, when you're talking about a lot of bales of hay to be made. So we'll probably use the poly twine for our second cutting on the main hay fields too. We'll get one more main second cutting off of our main hay fields. We might get a third cutting off of our test plot. If we do, that'll be a first for us to ever get 3 cuts off of any of our property. Usually we only get 2. Just due to our elevation and our weather patterns here in the mountains, our growing season's just not as long as it is when you get down a little flatter land. Anyway, thanks for being with us here on the farm this evening. Everything ran great, and if we get that hay analysis done, which I'm hoping to do maybe next week, we'll update you with those results. Take you along for that. Thanks for being with us, and if you haven't, subscribe to our channel, please. I'd really appreciate that. God bless, and you and your family have a great day.